guy, very good friends with Jim Davis, and though his play is a little slow and plodding, he's very good, all kidding aside.
And he also is someone who used to play at the only game in town. He was actually a JSS competitor, which was the old scholarship series they don't run anymore, at a JSS that I was the head judge at the only game in town.
Wow.
So we have some shared history.
So we've come full circle here.
Yes.
Kassis is going to search up a swamp off of Verdant Catacombs to play a Deathrite Shaman. Now, one of my favorite things when watching Elie play is his collection is beautiful.
Yes, foil Verdant Catacombs into Guru Swamp into foil Deathrite Shaman, and just expect to see more turns like that over the course of this match.
Like, how about a miscut foil Pluto Delta?
Yes.
How's that sound? That's worth a pretty penny. Going to sacrifice that, search up a Guru Island.
Yep.
Why not?
Still on pace here.
Shuffling very carefully.
Yep.
As I would do as well. Likely double-sleeved. Tietze's turn very, very normalized with just a flooded strand.
Yep.
And now Baleful Strix.
I don't think there's any sweet version of Baleful Strix.
If there were, he'd have it.
Right.
Like, I don't even know if there's a foil Baleful Strix. I don't think there is.
I don't believe so. I would have seen it at this point, I feel like.
Deathrite Shaman's going to add a mana, and now here's a Ponder. That's a pretty boring Ponder. Probably signed or something, but that's a pretty boring Ponder.
It's Corset Ponder.
It's my favorite picture of Ponder for what it's worth. That lower one can get out of here. Now, Tietze, someone that we have seen make deep runs with Goblins. He has won Opens with Goblins in Legacy. He's a former Invitational champion. This weekend, after talking to Jim Davis during the buys, he said Max wants to come back, play a little bit of Magic, wanted to play Miracles, has never played it before. He's already off to a great start. He's 1-0. And now here's I believe that's an Inquisition of Kozilek. Now that is a fun selection. He's got one.
Okay.
He's got one. Typically, discard, you see Duress or Thoughtseize, Cabal Therapy. Not used to seeing Inquisition, but Elie has one Inquisition. He's got one Thoughtseize as well. There's actually quite a few one-ofs. So now I'm curious, is there like a Gifts Ungiven going on in here? Now he's got one Therapy, one Duress, one Inquisition, one Thoughtseize.
The sampler.
Oh, yes. The Applebee sampler. Looks like Tietze is going to cast a Brainstorm here to try to hide some cards. This deck list is a thing of beauty right here. A couple copies of Fierce Empath. Maybe we'll get to see him dial that bad boy up.
I'm afraid I don't know what that card does off the top of my head.
You don't know Fierce Empath from Scourge?
Is that the 3-mana 1/1? You come into play, you tutor for a 6-mana or more creature?
I don't know, Patrick. Is it? What do we even pay you for? It's unbelievable. Swords is going to bite the dust. Yeah. Helps you find Emrakul.
Okay.
Or as Osip would say.
Emrakul.
Emrakul. Tietze's hand, Force of Will, Jace, bunch of fetch lands. So you have to imagine he hit some good cards on top. There's another one of those miscut Polluted Deltas. In comes the Baleful Strix.
So obviously when I said, I'm not sure what Fierce Empath does, what I meant was, I'm pretty sure I know what Fierce Empath does, but I can't imagine that's in the deck.
Well, there's not one, there's two.
Okay.
Yeah. A Sensei's Dividing Top here for Tietze. Couple of fetch lands out there. As Miracles is starting to get going for Max.
It's only Emrakul. There's no other sweet. There's no like Mahamodi Dijin type of. There's a Tassiger. Okay.
There's
a Tassiger and a Kurmog Angler.
There is no Mahamodi Dijin.
I said Mahamodi Dijin type creature. I didn't mean literal Mahamodi necessarily.
Now, what is that? Is that a Howling Mine or a Bayou?
I'm assuming because he's fetching for it, it's a Bayou.
Given my experiences with Howling Mine yesterday, I hope it's a Bayou. Howling Mine, not too potent of a strategy yesterday in Modern.
Maybe it's his Legacy Modern split card. Like he plays it as Howling Mine for Modern tournaments and Bayou for Legacy tournaments. That's probably not legal. I don't know the rules on miscut cards that well.
I'm curious how you find that one. Now, I see Elie at quite a few tournaments over the course of the year, and I got to ask him some more questions about these cards because I've never seen the Bayou like that before. What's the follow-up here? There's a one of Discard Spell and Duress. Force Will, Jace fetch lands. Jace bites the dust.
Very important for Kassis to get that card off the table. Tietze here shaping up to have a pretty substantial advantage if this game goes on for a long time.
That's a food chain strategy.
Oh, it's heating up.
Now, typically when we see this deck, we see Jonathan Job. That's
Yes.
the first player I think of. He made top 4 in Open Series, I believe, earlier this year when we were in Los Angeles. with Food Chain.
I think a deep run at Grand Prix New Jersey as well.
Yep.
I think he had a solid finish at that event with Food Chain. So are we with the Miss Hollow Griffin type of engine?
Yeah, we're Manipulate Fate, Mist Hollow Griffin. I think actually Elie has both of those cards in his hand. So what you're able to do is you're able to generate mana with Mist Hollow Griffin with Food Chain. It's a weird, wacky combo, one of Legacy's favorites. But you're able to make some more mana, infinite of it, and then hopefully cast an Emrakul or something busted. We've seen such cards as Tidespot Tyrant in the deck to be able to cast and some other expensive things.
And Fierce Empath is just great.
Yeah.
Last time I was playing with that card, I was finding Hundrug with it. Now you get to go ahead and get Tassiger, Gurvag Angler, Emrakul.
Well, they don't make them like they used to.
That's true.
Ooh, Council's Judgment. Looks like Kassis going to try to defend here. Could he use Forcible removing Miss Hollow Griffin? Oh, yeah.
Get it right back.
Oh, yeah. Combo. See if Max is able to fight back. He's going to sacrifice a Flooded Strand. Oh, hello.
Yeah.
Just making its appearance to the feature match area.
Two good modes.
One could argue 2 good deals.
2 good deals.
Cycling 3, I think, is a little overpriced. I think it could have been 2. Just going to put that out there. Tietze going to spin his top.
The problem with cycling 2 is then it always gets cycled. At cycling 3, it might rot in your hand long enough that you flood out and you're like, all right, whatever. Here's a 4/7. The most powerful version of the card is not necessarily the best design.
That's true. That's true.
Anyhow, Tassiger's much better to get with Fierce Empath.
Maybe. Sometimes you just need a new card.
It's true.
He's taking a long look with the top here. There's another Sensei's Divine top in there. Looks like a blue card as well if he wants to try to force a will back. He's going to draw a card with the top, not to the graveyard, on top of the deck, Max. Counterspell was the draw. Here is Force of Will removing Counterspell, which means that Council's Judgment will take care of Food Chain. And now Kassis will untap and take a draw step.
But Max is up against the ropes here a little bit here. He's at 11. I assume the Miss Hollow Griffin will be coming back momentarily.
I can only hope. Miss Hollow Griffin, one of the few cards in Magic that you can cast from exile, which works very well with Force of Will, Manipulate Fate, and Food Chain. So he will hard cast the Miss Hollow Griffin from exile, come across here for 2. Tietze is down to 9. Might need to find himself a Terminus.
Yes.
Max will draw the Sensei's Divine top. Looks like he's going to redeploy it. Now, for what it's worth, he does have quite a few looks here. He's got some fetch lands in his hand and a top to spin. So we'll take a look at the top 3 cards, will Tietze. Don't have a great look.
Yeah, but because of Deathrite Shaman in play, this is basically Terminus or bust.
Yep.
Even an Entreat is not going to lock Kassis' clock out of the game because there's plenty of spells to exile between the 2 graveyards.
Here come the beatdowns for 4. Tietze going to sacrifice Flooded Strand. And Elie, a veteran of Legacy, so I think he knows exactly what's going on here, which is Max is actively digging for a Terminus at this point. I'm going to search for Volcanic Island here, will Tietze.
Although if Tietze was going to be prompted to move just by an attack, I think I would have preferred for him to fetch on his own turn and spin the top right away.
Sure.
There's nothing really to be gained by waiting, and you might find something better to do on your own turn or have more information to work with, whatever.
Spin the top. Is there a Terminus in the top 3? A Plains, an Entreat, a Jace. Very powerful cards, but as you mentioned, Entreat, not really going to solve the problem here.
Yeah, the problem here is that Tietze is going to fall to 4 from this attack, and that's 2 Deathrite Shaman activations. So Entreat, Jace the Mind Sculptor, they don't really help in this spot.
Now, he does have another fetch land in his hand, but I don't know if that's going to help him either. He looks to be in some real trouble here.
Well, he can take the Jace, cast it. That gets him one card deeper. He can then shuffle his deck and activate the Divining Top. So I think he gets several looks at Terminus over the course of the next 2 turns.
Okay.
But the Intrigue doesn't do anything. He's got to. It's just at this point got to play to Terminus. I think he's got a number of looks at it with Jace and the fetch land and the top in play, but that's all he can really do at this point.
Well, Tietze is down to 4, and you see Deathrite Shaman ready to go active here for Kassis.
The upshot here is that if Tietze can find it, he's in a very commanding position. He's got Jace plus Divining Top. Kassis has no board.
Well, you see the Jace there in Tietze's hand. That's what he elected to draw. It was the best of the bunch. I guess the problem now is with Terminus, Max has already drawn his card for the turn. So at the end of Max's turn, Kassis will just activate Deathrite Shaman and put him down to 2. And then
upkeep and get him.
Yeah, and just get him in response to any Terminus that does happen.
Yeah, and if that's the case, then I think Max needs to fetch right now to get 3 clean. No, actually, this doesn't. It has to be Terminus. It doesn't even work anymore.
Well, so what he can do is he can fetch. That's land number 6, and he can draw a blind card off the top.
Okay.
And if Terminus is on the top, he can hardcast it for 6, and that gets him out of the situation. I think that's his only out right now.
Yeah.
Because Jace bouncing something doesn't do anything. If he just plays Jace, bounces Deathrite Shaman, just dies from the attack. If he bounces Miss Hollow Griffin, he just dies from the Deathrite Shaman. So it might just have to be a blind flip.
It's not even a miracle Terminus because he's already drawn for his turn.
Yeah, got to pay the full 6 for it. Looks like he might be spinning top. Let's see what the top card was going to be. Don't think it was a Terminus. Counterbalance, Brainstorm. Yeah, I think that Tietze might just be on an over here now.
Yeah.
Can't see any way out of the situation. You have to imagine that Kassis is not going to miss a Deathrite Shaman activation. Yeah, that's going to do it. So Elie Kassis, with a very normalized draw, no food chain action in that particular game, does win game number 1 here over Max Tietze. Food chain up a game here over Miracles.
Yeah, I mean, what the food chain did was it forced Tietze to jump through some hurdles there. He had to cast the Council's Judgment and had to put a top back on top of his deck to have a blue card to force a wheel to fight over it. So it wasn't like the food chain did nothing, but Kassis ultimately just won with a random curve of creatures.
Fair enough. Well, to the sideboards, those players are going to go, and that means to the sideboards we are going to go. We're going to start with Max Tietze, and it's 2 Blood Moons, a Mountain, 2 Red Elemental Blast, a Rest in Peace, 2 Vendilion Click, a Pithing Needle, a Pyroblast, a Baneslayer Angel, an Instastatic Caster, a Spell Pierce, a Supreme Verdict, and a Containment Priest.
I definitely like bringing in the copy of Supreme Verdict here. I mean, Kassis is building up a pretty substantial board. I think the 2 copies of Vendilion Click are also fine for this matchup. If Kassis is trying to win with just being kind of a Sultai mid-range deck, Vendilion Click's fine. And if Kassis is trying to win with the combo, it's also fine to have Vendilion Click. I wouldn't really go to the Red Blast, I think. I know Kassis has some blue cards, but his deck, in my mind, is base black-green, and I don't think you can really win a fight with the Red Blasts.
On the other side of things here for Kassis, 2 Flusterstorms, 2 Grafdigger's Cage, a Scavenging Ooze, 2 Carpet of Flowers, 2 Null Roth, and some one-ofs here in Sylvan Library, Dread of Night, Engineered Plague, Umazawa's Jite, Disfigure, and Hydroblast.
I think that you're going to see the Null Rods come in this matchup. The most important card in Tietze's deck by far is Sensei's Divining Top. Worth having an answer to that, even though it's a little bit narrow. I think the additional copy, or the 1 copy, excuse me, of Sylvan Library is great for this kind of matchup. It's on the slower side. And I think the 2 copies of Carpet of Flowers can come in here as well. It's a lot of mana.
Well, there are the options there for both players. Tietze will be on the play here for game number 2. In the meantime, we're going to talk about SCG Game Night, the very popular promotion which you can bring to a local store near you. November is just about over, so your chances to get the otter are just about done. But if you want to get that reindeer, you might want to battle your local store.
Exactly, and Game Night is held at stores all around the United States. Stores can run this program sanctioned or unsanctioned, any format they want. Just get players in the store for some fun and friendly magic. There's a December kit coming down the pipeline. Do we have January? We do. It's the Grizzly brand. If you want to get signed up for this program, head over to StarCityGames.com/game night or contact your Star City Games in-store play representative. Keep in mind, Canadian stores, Canadian players, we have changed the shipping rates. We're now just charging U.S. domestic shipping rates to send these kits to Canada. So if you have not brought Game Night to your local store because of the prohibitive shipping costs, that's been changed. So if you're a player, talk to your store owner. And if you're a store owner, again, go to StarCityGames.com/game night or contact your Star City Games in-store play representative.
You basically have no excuse now.
Right.
It's cheaper, so you have to sign up. Also, who doesn't want Grizzly brand? just look at the beatdowns. 5/5 Flying Demon. What are those things called? The hooks? Those have
horns.
those things have a technical name.
Horns.
Horns?
Oh, the hands.
The hands, yeah. It's like Silent Hill kind of with the hooks. Whatever. That's a horrible movie. You probably haven't seen it.
I've not seen Silent Hill.
Lucky you. Lucky you.
I've not seen Silent Hill.
Not good. Not good. Pretty good video game, not a great movie.
Okay.
Which is further proof that not everything should be made into a movie.
It's true.
Game number 2 about to be underway here between Max Tietze and Elie Kassis. If you are just joining us, Cedric Phillips, Patrick Sullivan. We got Nick Miller on the sideboard doing our deck techs, picking your feature matches. Wouldn't be surprised to see Elie Kassis in the sideboard for a little deck tech about this food chain deck. As we are here in New Jersey, the home state of one Patrick Sullivan. Feels good to be home.
Always. Always.
No snow and kind of warm.
Yeah, I was in Pittsburgh earlier this week for my girlfriend's family. We were having Thanksgiving over there. It was not cold, but it was on the cooler side. Definitely on the warmer side for this time of the year. But here, 60 degrees when I landed yesterday at JFK.
It's almost December.
Yeah.
I was a little surprised how warm it was when I walked out of the airport. In Cleveland, where I was over the past couple of days, seeing the old fam, there was snow on one side of the city and no snow on the other. It was kind of strange. Snow in downtown Cleveland, none on the parents' side. Good to see snow then. Yeah, I haven't seen snow for a little while.
Is it a 0% in Seattle to get snow, or is it just low?
It's low, and if it happens, that's game.
Yep.
It's all over. It's really not good.
It's like rain in Southern California. The roads just become unusable. People are
They have no idea.
not equipped to drive on those roads.
Not for what it's worth, in Seattle, it's very hilly, and they don't have any salt or plows, so I get it, but people are embarrassing themselves on the road when it snows.
Mm-hmm.
Tietze with land number 2, which is Scalding Tarn. He started things off with a Plains and a Sensei's Divining Top. For Kassis, it's an Underground Sea and a Deathrite Shaman, very reminiscent of how we saw him start the last game. For Max, it's a Needle.
Okay.
Now named Deathrite Shaman. Lock that up. Pass the turn back over to Kassis. Kassis will draw. I believe Elie picked up a copy of Flusterstorm for the turn. He'll sacrifice Misty Rainforest, fall down to 18. We'll see what land he wants to search up.
Was not sure if Flusterstorm was going to come into this matchup. It's got spots of being very good against Miracles, but a lot of what they do is based around permanence, obviously. Also, they play pretty efficiently with their mana with the various Miracle cards, so it's not a horrible card to bring in, but I don't think it's a lock necessarily that someone will bring that card in against Miracles.
Here comes Deathrite in for 1. Tropical Island was the land there for Kassis, and now he's got a little hate of his own in a Null Rod. You can see Tietze's hand. He's got a red elemental blast over there, Swords of Plowshares, Counterbalance, but it does not look like he has an answer for Null Rod, which will shut down the top.
Yeah, and I don't think his hand's worth a whole lot without the top. This is one of those awkward Miracle hands where it's a little bit on the fidgety side, and you really need Divining Top to smooth things out.
Looks like he will just draw a card with Divining Top, probably shuffle it away too.
Well, you have the option here, if you put the top back on top, of just shuffling it away if you want to. You can also draw and hope that maybe you can break the Null Rod somewhere down the line, and if you can't, you can shuffle away with a Brainstorm effect.
Tietze will now sacrifice that fetch land to shuffle the top away. See what land he wants to search for. He'll go with Volcanic Island. I think we're heading back Max's way. Yes, we are, for his 3rd turn. Curious if he has another land, but it looks like he does. It's a Flooded Strand. Pass the turn back over to Kassis. Kassis with his Null Rod, his Deathrite Shaman that has been hit by a Pithing Needle. A couple of lands over there. He'll serve in for 1 more. Tietze's going to fall down to 17. Kassis with a Baleful Strix. That will resolve.
Tietze with a Red Blast in hand. I was a little surprised that he let that one go.
Yeah, just curious what exactly is he saving the Red Blast for? There are some things to hit here and manipulate fate, Force of Will. Maybe he's worried about a card like Intuition.
Sure, I know there's quality blue cards in Kassis's deck, but that still feels like a juicy enough target here.
Well, that Baleful Strix is going to come across here with the Deathrite Shaman. Tietze is going to take 2 more, going to fall down to 15. Kassis will just pass the turn back after he did play a Fluted Delta for the turn. Over to Max we go. Both players stumbling a little bit on lands right now, both stuck on 3.
This is pretty common, though, for Miracles in games where it does not have access to Sensei's Divining Top.
Abrupt Decay. Going to go after the Pithing Needle, going to turn back on the Deathrite Shaman here. So Kassis will untap. He'll draw. Another copy of Fluted Delta. You can see in Kassis' hand he does have a Force Will, another copy of Null Rod. There is the Delta for land number 4.
Now, if Tietze has a Supreme Verdict, then I think that's a reasonable justification for not red blasting the Baleful Strix.
Sure.
Just let Kassis dump some stuff on the table and try to sweep it all up.
Strix will come across for 1. Kassis is going to sacrifice both Fluted Delta, so he'll fall a little bit lower. You saw Deathrite Shaman hang back, as that one's going to be maybe generating some mana or preparing to drain. Kassis looking at basic swamp, basic island perhaps, but he'll grab the Bayou instead. Now we'll find out what he's up to on this turn. Anything in particular that he wants to cast. Looks like he'll go with a Tasigur. There goes the entire graveyard.
I mean, if Tietze can get to land number 4 plus Supreme Verdict, this is a huge win.
Yeah, he's in good shape then. Well, it looks like he might not even have a Supreme Verdict if he's casting Swords right now.
Yep.
Kassis going to remove the land from the graveyard there in Scalding Tarn. Going to activate Tasigur. His graveyard currently is empty, so going to turn over 2 cards. Don't have a great look at them. Food Chain is 1.
And I think Miss Hollow Griffin is the other.
You have nailed it.
I'm assuming he's going to get the Griffin here.
Just a classic Tasigur activation. The Griffin does go back to the grip. Tasigur will bite the dust. Kassis will gain a little bit of life. And now we're going to head back Tietze's way. We'll just pass the turn back. Over to Elie we go. He'll draw a card. Flush of Storm still over there. Force of Will. Here comes Baleful Strix. Just chipping away at Tietze right now. Might be time for another Baleful Strix.
Sure.
First one was good. See if Tietze wants to fight this one. He doesn't want to. I mean, it's clear to me that Max is kind of trying to use his life total as a resource here. Maybe work his way into a Terminus. Maybe a Supreme Verdict, as you did mention. He can always red blast it after the fact.
I mean, red blasting it after the fact is
not great.
A tough way to do it.
It's not great. Here's Brainstorm. 3 cards coming. That one's not Terminus. You saw the way Tietze drew his card there very slowly.
The chip shots are problematic, though, when your opponent has Deathrite Shaman in play. You know, Tietze can use his life total as a resource up to a point, but he can't just do it forever.
Yeah, when they have Deathrite Shaman, and also with Miracles, a lot of their lands are fetch lands.
Yeah.
So right now, Max is having some difficulty hitting land drops, but you can probably say that, okay, he'll probably take 2 more damage from fetch lands, at least this game.
And once you can't use your fetch lands, then the deck goes down, way down in quality.
Yep.
Because a lot of the power from the deck comes from shuffling away. His life total getting low, combined with the Null Rod in play, could make things very problematic for Tietze going forward.
Tietze will untap after searching up a Tundra. He'll draw a card, not a Terminus. Looks like to be a copy of Counterspell. That's land number 4. It's an island. Likely picked that one up off that Brainstorm. Been looking for a land for some time here as Max. He does have the necessary mana to cast Supreme Verdict if he has it, but it's unclear if he does. A lot to think about here for the former Invitational champion. He'll go with Jace.
This is an interesting spot here for Kassis because it is Jace the Mind Sculptor after all, and Kassis has Force of Will in hand, but Jace isn't that potent on this board. Tietze almost certainly has to Fate Seal as the first order of business to make sure that Jace can survive in combat.
Looks like Kassis respects this card enough that he's going to use Force of Will, exiling Mist Hollow Griffin, so basically a free roll.
Exactly. If he had to pitch a real blue card, it's not clear to me he would have done that. But if it's a Mist Hollow Griffin, it's hard to turn that down.
What a draw step there for Elie, picking up an Emrakul. Huge draw.
Well, if he has a land here, then we're almost halfway.
Kassis going to sacrifice that fetch land, get a basic forest.
We're pretty far off.
It's got a little work to do.
Yeah.
A little work to do.
Not saying it's impossible, it's just, does he have enough sources of mana in the deck to even cast it?
It's close. It's close. Ah, the Griffin is back.
Boom. What the Emrakul does mean, however, now with this Mist Hollow Griffin, is if Kassis draws Food Chain, the game's over.
Yes.
You essentially make infinite mana for creatures, play Emrakul. You've actually cast Emrakul, so you get to take the turn.
And finish him off that way.
Yeah. So even though it is a funny draw, could come up.
Yep.
Although Tietze is also just losing to the board right now.
Much like in the first game.
Yes.
We haven't seen any fireworks here from Kassis. He's just playing a normalized game of Magic. Casting some 4-mana 3/3s. What is that, Phantom Monster?
Rock of Care Ridge is another analog.
Not doing anything too impressive right now as Elie Kassis. But it's certainly getting the job done. And it's also worth noting just how powerful it is to slow down Miracles if you can slow down their tops.
Yes. The deck is not very good when it doesn't have Divining Top, quite simply. It's a poor control deck in those kind of games.
Council's Judgment going to be cast here. We're going to see Kassis activate Deathrite Shaman. We're going to remove something. Red Elemental Blast took care of Mist Hollow Griffin. There goes Brainstorm.
And Tietze has to get rid of the Deathrite Shaman because something the deck can do is exile the Griffin to Deathrite Shaman, gain 2 life, then it's exiled and castable again.
Oh, baby. What a combo.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There's a lot of routes here.
Here come the Strixes. Tietze is going to fall down to 4. Does Kassis have a follow-up? There's another Mist Hollow Griffin over there.
I believe he does.
Boom.
Lethal. Lethal is on the table.
Tietze will draw. Aha! Finally! Terminus! And that's going to resolve right away. So these creatures are all going to the bottom now, and that'll be Tietze's turn. Now Kassis might be in some trouble.
Well, we're at least at parity now. Before, Tietze's efforts to defend himself, red blasting Griffins and using 3-mana removal spells on Deathrite Shaman didn't look good. But now we're at something resembling parity. The problem, Tietze's at 4, and he doesn't have access to Divining Top. His deck really needs that.
Here's Gurmag Angler.
That also exiles the Griffins.
Yes, yes.
The one Griffin that's in exile.
Yep.
The other one got put on the bottom of the deck.
There's Counterspell on the Angler. We might see
Fight.
Kassis fight back here with the Flusterstorm. Yeah, I want my Gurmag Angler in play. All of the copies of Flusterstorm are going to target Counterspell. You think about that.
And Tietze has still not found a thing to do with these red blasts, really. Yep. Got a Griffin with 1.
Yeah, that's not great. Draw a card. Not a Terminus. He'll sacrifice that Flooded Strand, fall down to 3. Get a Tundra very quickly here, will Max.
But 3's important now. Remember that Griffin's in exile.
Yep.
So now that can just come back next turn, even if Tietze finds an answer to the Angler.
Is that, oh my.
Oh, whoa.
Baneslayer Angel?
Okay.
What year is this?
Was not expecting that.
Well, there's a Carpet of Flowers.
Oh, the Emrakul. That's 4 mana. We're getting really close.
That's a free Mist Hollow Griffin, thanks.
Oh. I mean, we're still short like 5 mana. But getting close.
You got to work your way towards something. Tietze with land number 6. It's an Arid Mesa. Might be time for maybe one of those red blasts. Yep, take care of the Griffin. This means that Baneslayer can start attacking. Yep, there goes Griffin. Hiya! Baneslayer, this is very Joe Lissette-esque here.
I was not expecting Baneslayer to come in here.
Me either. It actually does a really good job of checking all the creatures for pretty obvious reasons.
Yeah, it is the biggest thing.
Yeah. So Tietze is going to go up to 8. Kassis is going to fall down to 13. There's Carpet Trigger. Here's Duress. Let's see what Tietze is working with over here. Force of Will and Entreat the Angels. Now, Kassis' hand, we know he's got another copy of Null Rod. That's not going to help very much. The first one is plenty fine. Unclear. Oh, the other card's Emrakul. Never mind.
Yep.
Very clear what the other card is. There goes Force of Will. Here comes the Angler.
I think the leftovers in Kassis' hand right now are the Emrakul that we mentioned before, and I think the other copy of Null Rod.
Yep, that's it. Pass the turn back. Tietze with Entreat the Angels in hand. He'll draw a card. Well, looks like a spell to cast, as he is reaching for mana. Perhaps a Council's Judgment is on the way. And it is.
Judgment's a big draw.
Angler down. Baneslayer in. Tietze up to 8 again. Kassis down to 8. Kassis will draw. Trigger the Carpet. Manipulate Fate. It's actually a big draw. Now, we can't forget about Manipulate Fate. It does cantrip.
Yes. Well, the other, at this point now, he also gets Food Chain as like basically a lethal draw.
Yep.
That's still good. He also gets a chump block for a while.
Also true. Also true. That's very
So
important.
a lot of time here.
Yep. He can also take some garbage out of his deck too, which is a minor thing, but it eliminates bad draw steps. So some Griffins gonna get exiled. Now don't forget, Kassis gets to draw a card here. It's actually pretty big.
Yeah, the Manipulate Fate's a very big draw here.
If he draws Food Chain, for example, we are living the dream. There's 4 mana. Griffin. Carpet.
Yeah, this was all done with Carpet mana.
Yep.
A couple lands,
Yep.
but
Sacrifice a fetch land. Mac's gonna take a look at Carpet of Flowers. You only get to use it once,
yes.
but you get to choose which main phase you want to use it in. Elie using it in his first main
During
phase.
your main phase is very vague,
Not great.
but I believe it means at start of main phase 1 or start of main phase 2.
Correct.
During your main phase, at some point during this phase of the game that has numerous steps involved, just during that,
Whatever you want.
you can get a bunch of mana.
Is it time for Griffin number 2? Yes. Chump blocking for days. Tietze will draw. Here comes Baneslayer. Curious if Kassis has an interest in chump blocking this turn. It's like when you're playing against Miracles, you could probably safely fall down to 2. Not worry about too much. It looks like that's what he's going to do. 2 to 13 now. And back to Elie we go. He'll draw. Is it Food Chain? Trigger the Carpet. It's got some free mana coming since Tietze has all that blue mana over there. What do we have now? Vendilion Click. Boy. Let's see what Max is going to set up here. This might be in response to Vendilion Click. It might be in response to the trigger from Vendilion Click. Unclear at this point. We'll try to get a little bit of clarification on when this brainstorm is taking place. But here is Brainstorm.
I would assume it's in response to the click.
Sure.
Tietze has Red Blast in his deck, so.
Fair. No Terminus found there. You saw the way he drew his first card for Brainstorm. Gonna put some cards back here in just a moment. One more going back there for Max. Okay. Kassis is going to target himself. Going to put Null Run on the bottom. So we mentioned that one's not going to help very much. He'll draw a mystery card. On the hunt for food chain, you got to imagine.
Just keep on counting the mana in play.
He's got 10.
Yeah.
With the carpet plus the 6 lands, he's got 10. 5 away from Emrakul. Are we getting aggressive? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Miss Hollow Griffin just coming on in. What's our follow-up? Deathrite Shaman. That looks good to roll. Teats, swords, the Vendilion Click.
Not Miss Hollow Griffin.
Yeah, don't target that one.
Although now Elie at 5, if Tietze has a way to just get the untapped Griffin off the table, it's got to kill.
Yep. Jace bouncing at something like that, that'll work.
Totally works.
Well, speak of the devil, it shall appear. Will Jace resolve? Bounce, attack, game over. Perhaps a little too aggressive an attack there with the Miss Hollow Griffin.
Yeah, at that point, I feel like Kassis' plan is basically just food chain or bust. Little points of damage don't matter a whole lot there. So I probably would have held back with everything. I don't know if he's got some answer to Baneslayer Angel in his deck and he feels like maybe he has a way to win the game just by getting the Baneslayer off the table and then attacking. The 3 points might matter. But the looks of things, it looked like he was just trying to food chain an Emrakul that game, and the 3 points weren't worth a whole lot.
Well, Maxi's going to tie things up here against Elie Kassis. Miracles and Food Chain go into game number 3. So these players are going to re-sideboard, it looks, pretty quickly as Kassis will be on the play. You see the options here again for both players. We saw Null Rod come here for Kassis. For Max, we believe Supreme Verge in the deck along with a couple other different cards. We know Baneslayer's in the deck now.
Which was a bit surprising, but if Tietze feels like he can win the fight over Food Chain and turn Kassis' deck basically into a Sultai mid-range deck, then Baneslayer is not shabby. It was definitely good that game.
Well, players going to pile shuffle, get ready here for game number 3. In the meantime, we're talking about the SCG newsletter. It is your source for Magic Gathering news, and best of all, it's pretty easy to sign up for.
Absolutely. All the best content from Star City Games, cultivated by Cedric Phillips here. We have the latest going-ons of the Open Series with a selected match of the week for you to go view, exclusive deck lists and advice from some of our premium columnists, and an exclusive Cardboard Crack comic. Signing up is free over at starcitygames.com/newsletter.
Game number 3 here between Elie Kassis and Max Tietze. 2 Open Series stalwarts, both with a lot of success to their name. Kassis typically seen as a legacy specialist, and Tietze a former invitational champion who's taken a little bit of a step away from the game, but coming back now that we are in his area.
Yes, always good to see. It's a nice thing that Legacy can do too, you know? Standard requires a lot of maintenance, a lot of upkeep. You got to be aware of what's going on. Legacy, you got your Miracles deck from a year and a half ago. It's probably about fine. Change a couple cards around the sideboard and you're good to go.
Deathrite Shaman here for Kassis. Underground Sea, his land of choice. For Tietze, he'll sacrifice a Flutterstrand, so both players will be at 19 to open up this game. He'll search up a Tundra, and perhaps a Sensei's Dividing Top is on the way. Maybe a Swords to Plowshares. And it will be a Swords to take care of Deathrite. Kassis will gain that life back, go back up to 20. And now we head back over to Elie. Verdant Catacombs is land number 2. Thoughtseize. Going to take a look at Tietze's hand. You'll find a Sensei's Divining Top, a Counterspell, the Red Elemental Blast, the Jace, Vendilion Click, and a beautiful island. I want to take that top.
same. Unless Kassis has Null Rod in hand, I think he's got to take the Divine Top. Otherwise, Chase the Mind Sculptor, the most likely one to go. Those are Tietze's most powerful cards, assuming the game's going to go on for a long time.
Kassis with a Tropical Island. He'll pass the turn back. Tietze will draw an island, pass the turn. Kassis will sacrifice Verdant Catacombs. See what land Elie wants to search up. He'll go with that Miscut Bayou. See players playing a little bit quickly here because time is of the essence. Neither player wants to draw. Now here's an Vendilion Clique. Coast is clear for that because no red mana here for Tietze for that Elemental Blast.
Kassis knows about Counterspell, but I think he's happy to make that trade.
And appears to be the case. Kassis will now draw. Did pick up a copy of Manipulate Fate. Gonna sacrifice a fetch land very quickly here for Elie. Get himself a basic Guru Island. And now here is Fierce Empath.
Here we go.
Tietze will take a look at the Empath. And depending on how many cards are in Kassis' graveyard, we could see Gurmag Angler or Tasigur here very soon.
Well, what's important about this play, it's subtle, but this gives, getting a Tasigur putting into play here is excellent as well. It allows Kassis to get some sort of board out in front of Jace hitting the table.
Yep.
And I think Kassis was concerned there. If Tietze just goes land number 4, slam Jace, and Kassis has no creatures in play, that could be the end of the game.
Yep. Now at least he's got some defense against that.
If Tietze goes Jace and unsummon your Tasigur, then Fierce Empath knocks Jace down to 1 loyalty, and Tietze has to answer that as well.
Tietze will target himself here with Vendilion Clique on his main phase, put Entreat the Angels to the bottom, perhaps in search of a land, but did not find one. So now we head back Kassis' way. Food Chain the draw. Now Kassis trying to come from a couple different angles. Here come the beatdowns. Vendilion Clique too proud to trade with Fierce Empath.
I've not seen a Fierce Empath attack in, I believe, over 10 years. It's nice to see.
Players going to make sure their life totals are correct, as Tietze did take one from a Flooded Strand a little bit earlier in the game. That's why he's down to 14 now. For Kassis, it's a Manipulate Fate. That's going to resolve. Mist Hollow Griffins are going to be exiled here in just a moment, I believe. Now do remember, he does get the cantrip off of this. And if he does draw a land, he can play Food Chain, and I don't know if he can combo at this point, but he can put a bunch of Mist Hollow Griffins on the battlefield.
Yeah.
Looks like he's going to get 2 Griffins and a Polluted Delta. Those are good exile. Now he'll draw a card. Now just pass the turn back. Tietze will draw. Looks like it was an Arid Mesa.
Land number 4,
yep.
Source of red mana 2.
All pretty important stuff. Time for Tietze to do a little bit of math here. He'll start by playing Arid Mesa, fall down to 13. Perhaps a Volcanic Island is on the way. And it is. There's Chase the Mind Sculptor. There goes Tasigur. Kassis is untapping very quickly.
Well, with Food Chain, he gets to... Well, now with Empath back in hand, I think this is a kill.
Yeah, if he has Empath in hand, this might just be a kill. Gonna sacrifice the Empath. Mist Hollow Griffin. I'm gonna do this a lot. Thank you much. Get another Griffin. There's another copy of Fierce Empath.
Hooray!
We have a combo, folks. Get an Emrakul, hard cast that, take another Turnsky Poo. And very convenient that Max Tietze has 6 permanents on the battlefield, isn't it?
And less than 15.
Unfortunately, not a flawless victory, but a victory nonetheless, as Food Chain does what Food Chain does. Elie Kassis going to win this match here over Max Tietze, 2-1. Food Chain takes down Miracles, and for Kassis, the Legacy stalwart, he's off to a 2-0 start.
And Fierce Empath was pretty impressive in that deck. This is the first time I've seen it there, but the fact that you have cards like Tassiker and Gurmag Angler, which are just regular Magic cards you can go get if you don't have Food Chain or you can't come off for whatever reason, while also allowing you to have access to the Emrakul. You know, when we watch Jonathan Joe play the deck, sometimes he's even cut the Emrakul, or you know, because like, what are the odds that you have that and Food Chain and Miss Hollow Griffin, and it matters that you have the Emrakul? It's a tough card to put in the deck.